meteorologist Hannah Sheehy is joining us, and you're tracking the tropics this morning. Hannah, the tropics are waking up.
They are, after a very slow start to the season. Again, of course, we've been talking all year about the super El Nino that is brewing in the equatorial Pacific that is leaving us with a well below average Atlantic hurricane season. And that's exactly what we've been seeing so far. We've only had 3 named storms so far this season. Now here is a live look at our current satellite imagery across the Atlantic, and you can see that there are 2 areas of low pressure called tropical waves that are trying to make their large journey over towards our Atlantic and Caribbean and the Gulf from the west coast of Africa. So we've got 2 areas that we're keeping our eyes on right now. There is one in orange that has a 50% chance of development within the next 7 days, and then the other area in yellow, which has been downgraded now to only having a 20% chance of development. Yesterday it had an 80% chance of development, and I'll go into a little bit of why we have been seeing this decrease. And again, it all has to do with the El Nino in the Pacific. But if we take a look at disturbance number 2, which has a 50% chance of development, environmental conditions right now do appear favorable for some slow development over the course of the next few days here with this system. And it could become a tropical depression by this weekend. We are not for certain right now if that will happen, because we are looking at some pretty strong wind speeds over the Caribbean and Gulf right now, and over the Atlantic itself. So disturbance number 1 right now has a 20% chance of development, and it's becoming unlikely that anything will surface out of this because there are really strong upper level winds. And you guys, when we have really strong upper level winds, hurricanes really like to be structurally sound like a tower, and they like to be very vertically upright. So if there's any winds pushing those clouds overboard, they are not happy and they will be unorganized in nature. They really want to be organized, like that picture you see on your screen. And right now, with a lot of wind speed, strong wind speeds aloft, they just really have a hard time becoming more organized. So here is our list of tropical cyclone names. As you can see, we've had 3 so far named storms: Artha, Bertha, and Cristobal. Cristobal happened just this week, and it was up towards the Azores near Europe, and it didn't really come up from much. It became a tropical storm, very quickly became a tropical depression, and downgraded from there. So we haven't had too much activity so far this year, but the tropics are showing some signs of life right now. But again, it's going to be a very long journey and a hard journey for them to really form into anything as they head through the Atlantic. So our peak Atlantic hurricane activity climatologically is on September 11th. Right now it is August 14th, so we're about less than a month away from that climatological peak. But this graph does a really good job of showing you that we are heading into that peak hurricane season. And what that means for us is, again, below average season so far. I believe the Hurricane Prediction Center is only predicting 10 to 13 named storms at this point. We've had 3 so far, but we still have plenty of months to go. All of September, all of October, and all of November as well. Hurricane season ends on November 31st. So we do still have several months of hurricane season. Peak hurricane season is next month, but I do still think it's going to be very below average. And I know it only takes 1 storm, though, to make this season memorable. And that's kind of what happened last year. We had plenty of storms last year, but a lot of them stayed in the Atlantic and kind of moved towards the Bermuda area. But we had that 1 storm, Hurricane Melissa, that became a Category 5 hurricane and did a lot of destruction in Jamaica. And 2025 will always be remembered for that. So although we haven't had anything so far, again, it only takes 1.
That is so interesting. I never thought about it like that. It only takes 1.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, you know, how many we're forecasting or, you know, thinking about. It only takes 1 to cause a lot of destruction. So
yeah, exactly.
You showed that the graphic and the topography on there is just extreme on both sides of it. Why is that the middle of September we get that extreme where it's like the most active right
Yeah,
there?
so once we hit the middle of September, all of our environmental conditions have had all year up to this point to get to those prime conditions. We've got really warm waters in the Atlantic. That is a huge, huge ingredient that we need for tropical development. September, again, is just that prime month. We typically see less wind shear during the month as we head towards the end of hurricane season. Again, if we didn't have an El Nino right now, which is creating a surplus of the dramatic wind speeds over the Atlantic, which again is just making them fall apart, and anything that does kind of get going has a really hard time developing into anything.
All right, Hannah, thank you.
Yeah, and if you have any weather-related questions you'd like to ask, just scan the QR code on your screen, click on Weather Authority. There you can leave us a question, whether it's about the hurricane season or any storms that we've had recently. Make sure you ask a question, and you might see them answered on air.
All right, great. After the break, Emily.